Good morning and aloha to everybody. Aloha. I was told by the Magna Kamuna when I said aloha. No, he said no, aloha. Anyway, it is very happy and honor for me to be here to talk the meaning of the Nenbutsu in the present moment. And particularly in the process to make this talk, suddenly the content changed after arriving in Hawaii because particularly whenever I came to Hawaii, I always came with Washington Sensei because he devoted his life to research and study the Hawaii Japanese American anyway, the Japanese Americans, the religious consciousness and the tradition in Hawaii in terms of Buddhism. And so it took almost 3 years to come back here because after his passing away, Hara Sensei, Yoshiharu Sensei called me and to come to Hawaii, but I couldn't because, in a sense, that due to my grief, perhaps, because if I come to Hawaii, I remember many things with Washington Sensei, so perhaps, I couldn't. But this year, I come back with Miyabai Sensei and many other the friends. So that always he smiled like this. Yeah, many of them remember. And also this is the picture on the Jodo Shu newspaper. And it is the last, our trip, 2009 December. Here the Washington Sensei, and this is me. So perhaps, there is no exception. We have to face the death and also the death of the loved one. So how we should go with the grief or sorrow? So, and I'm going to give you one story. This, actually, I gave the wake and funeral service of his funeral. He is a pretty famous the economic journalist. Every day on the TV, many programs. And he's very popular. He was very popular. And but he faced suddenly the bad news. Like at 40 years old, he had the bad news. The doctor told the truth. That means doctor told him he had only 6 months life. So he called because we had some relationship. Someone introduced him to me, and he called me to come to his house. And I went almost 9:30 in the night. It is the first time to meet him. And he left the thanks message to everybody who came to his funeral. As you know, in Japan we have a tradition. We prepare thanks letter, to the people who come to the funeral. Usually we have a very fixed form. It's really formalized. Everybody had as a same, thanks letter. But he himself wrote before his death. And in his such a thanks letter, he mentioned about after this is not the end of life. He said it's a starting new life, a second life. He said, and in second life I can go to wherever you are. He said, and also he mentioned my name. Actually, because he met me and he had, in a sense, some understanding of life and death. So everybody asked, what Dharma talk you gave to him? So, no Dharma talk. When I met him in his home, no Dharma talk, no preaching. What I did and we had is just talking about food and music and Hawaii. That means, it is the first time to meet him. And by chance, he knew this jodomission of Hawaii because he often came to Hawaii with his wife. And he drove himself. And he remembered exit to Naho to go to Waikiki. So anyway, so he knew this, the jodomission. And we naturally had something like a feeling. It is not the first time. We are already very good close friends. And I just came back. But at that time, he had some oxygen and also a morphine, and it is very hard for him. So he said, I want to come back to Hawaii again. But obviously, it was impossible. So the things I did in the house in the midnight, I made some special CD for him to, collecting the Hawaiian local music. And I asked his manager to bring it to him. So the next day, he gave me an email. The CD of Hawaii Alive. Thanks so much. There was a part with the song Over the Rainbow, right? That's very famous and very healing, and which is a favorite of mine. When I heard it, I became energized. Thank you again. That is the email. So, in a sense, first in his bed, he could trip to Hawaii. I believe that. So anyway, also he left his diary, right, towards my death, the final diary of my last 500 days. And in such a diary, he mentioned repeatedly, I don't want to die. Why is it that I only anticipate my own death? Separating from my greatest love, my wife, has been the most heartbreaking pain of all. Today, my health and condition is all over the place. That means, it is said he prepared perfectly. So in the TV and the newspaper and the magazine, everybody said, oh, at 40 years old man, unbelievable, he prepared everything. But inside him, always he is moving. Sometimes he couldn't control himself. And also, his wife stopped to work, and she took care perfectly of him. And he felt simply my wife took on the burden of helping to me live as much and as long as possible. For that, I am in debt. Although she is my partner and the most loved one, it was unbearable to continue depriving her of basic lifestyle. He always appreciates, but at the same time, he always feels sorry for that. And I honestly want to commit suicide. But since I cannot move my body at all, I cannot. I believe that I have chosen this life for myself. Yet, as it comes to an end, I cannot choose the final moment. He himself always reflects his life. I'm really satisfied. I always try to do my best, regardless of the fruits or not. But he said that finally, I couldn't do anything. And the worry and anxiety when death draws near. How do you think? If we ourselves face to death, what is the worry and anxiety of you? In Japan, we have a survey, almost every year by the government, like the Ministry of Labor and Health, and also like medical institution, even religious institution to this survey. Number one is myself, pain and suffering at the time of death. People really afraid that as a very realistic suffering, physical suffering. But at the same time, second, separating from friends and family. But we cannot change that. Number one, perhaps we can eliminate by medical treatment. But number two, we cannot do anything. And number three also, worry over family left behind. Perhaps when we face death, we go to the pyramid with that kind of feeling. So that means, even after death, perhaps we still have that kind of feeling to the left behind. And his wife mentioned after his funeral. Actually, after telling the truth and also during Ray's funeral, I remember she never cried. She always took care of the people and everything. But 1 week after Kaneko's funeral, his wife suddenly saw Kaneko's favorite chocolate at the supermarket, where they often shop together. So I had the exactly same feeling here, because I and my wife visited some Korean noodle shop. Yuchan is near the Aramwana shopping center, because that was a favorite shop of Washimi and myself. So last time also we went there. So she mentioned, I have had no feeling at all in my life at this point, just the most serious suffering in losing the ability to eat and enjoy food. This world no longer exists for me. So that means in daily such a kind of like a daily experience, sometimes such a serious grief come to us. Of course, in here, everybody, perhaps, we understand that. It is the first time to cry out loud after discovering his illness. So she mentioned, if this suffering continues on like this, how can I live on? That is her very honest confession. So this is somewhat like biomedical research. Stressful life events is number one death of the spouse. and number 2, divorce and the separation. So that means we cannot escape from number 1. So how we should go and live with that kind of grief? That is very important things we have to take care. This is a Sandra scale, and but he himself, finally, he mentioned in his son's letter. He mentioned this is not the end of life, but the start of a second life. He came to that conclusion because he tried not to escape from the reality, but to face the reality, and all with his wife. And actually, he was not a member of my temple. And of course, he didn't know so much about the Buddhism. But before my visiting, because he was a journalist, he checked everything about me in my temple. So when I left his room, not this book, but the other book in Japanese, when I met him, he said like this, "Thomas Sensei, I already read 3 times your book." That is his greeting to me. So he himself asked, he understand and he accepted, and he believed us, this Purana or the Nembutsu and the Buddha. He never mentioned about such an exact name, but his contents is this: the conviction in the continuation of life and death. At the boundary of the passage to death, one merely moves to another world, the pure. So, and also the wife, the Wakako-san, she mentioned, now, the feeling of sorrow is strong. Almost sometimes, often she cried, remembering him. But she said also, but she doesn't feel lonely because Kaneko was there. I'm here, but we go together to direct him to the same goal. She mentioned, and actually he was in my graveyard, and his the job is like a TV and radio. So as you know, like Tokyo Tower is a tower for the TV and radio, used to be. Now it goes to the Sky Tree. But anyway, so also in his thanks letter he mentioned, whenever you think of me, please send your message through the radio waves as you face Tokyo Tower. So, and during his business, he was so busy, he couldn't go to the old places that the people want to, him. But now, after death, he said, I will go to wherever you all are at any time. So that is in our Jodo Shu teaching, going to pure. And also come back to this world. Exactly he mentioned like this, through the magic door. So in Japan now, honestly speaking, if we're talking about Nenbutsu, Pure Land, Amida Buddha, but the majority of the people who don't believe that, the teaching, sometimes they say, please stop that. I don't need that kind of a name and a specific teaching. But even the young people, they have a sympathy and understanding of this thought and his experience using magic door. through magic door, I can come back to you. So everybody said, yes, right. And so it's the same content in different words that we have to think about that. But so that is the main the topic. Actually, first I believe it's already past 15 minutes. Right? I was told the most important thing is not the content, not more than 15 minutes. But anyway, so do you know that this Sino-Japanese kanji, the meaning? Because I studied not in Japan, but in a sense, United States and Europe by John Kabat-Zinn. He, in a sense, he is studying and showing the scientific evidence of mindful meditation. And he explained to the Western doctor and nurses who cannot read, of course, this Chinese character. He mentioned that this word is the heart of Buddhism, he explained. And this name, in this part, the Sino-Japanese character for name is composed of two other that means now and then. This is now, and this is heart. So that means Nenbutsu, Nen, means our heart is here in this very moment. That is very important. When we chanting the Nenbutsu, that our heart and our mind is here this very moment. But we tend to always think and say, if, to think about the past. If I did like this, different foods or something like that. In many cases, how we suffer. Perhaps we suffer to regret the past, which we cannot change. We cannot change. And also, we really worry about the future. Future still not yet come. And while we suffer and worry about regret of the past and worry about the future, we tend to forget this moment. So that is, I study that Nenbutsu means come back to this moment and this life. So also etymologically, that the interpretation is the meaning what is now in the heart. So also I found it very interesting the article about the scientific evidence of near-death experience. Because as you know, in near-death experience, sometimes the people talk, I met my late grandfather or the mother or someone who knows in a beautiful flower garden. They said, oh, please welcome. But at the time I just wake up and come back to this world or something like that. So that, why that happened? So in this August, the University of Michigan Animal Studies shows high electrical activity in the brain after clinical death. They did some animal research. That means some the rat. And the prediction that we found, we could find some signs of conscious activities in the brain during cardiac arrest was confirmed with the data. Means, in the case of the rat, after stopping the heart and the breathing, 30 seconds, their brain was alive, is alive. And in the final moment, the activity of the consciousness in the brain became very clear in the final moment, and also synchronized all the function of the brain. And that means it's not usual the function of the brain. Usual function is now you listen to my talk and see and pass with such external stimulation, the brain work and the talk function. It's already time right now. It's the last famous slide. Anyway, so but in the last stage of the brain is different. It has nothing to do with outer, some stimulation or the information. The things we have had in the brain that comes out. So that means first the why, such as the very close, my late family members shows up in the final moment. So that means we have such kind of image always. So that means the very important thing is at the front of the Buddhism or the Ihai or the picture, we pray and to have such an image in everyday life. So that comes up, I believe, in the last moment. So also the good memory. So that means to me, I always remember to visit many good restaurants and beautiful place with Bashin Sensei. Also this time with my wife. So to remembering that and to have image that's very important. Also the athlete always have image training, right, before trial. So that means before going to the pure also it is very important to have such a image training to go to pure very peacefully. So the point is the why the Nenbutsu in this present moment is very important, not just before death. The Honen Shonin always said, if the disciple asked when we should chant the Nenbutsu, he said, of course, just before death, that is most important, but who knows when that comes? So that means, if in everyday life we chant that goes to the final Nenbutsu, if we cannot do it in the last moment. So, in everyday life, and particularly in this very moment, finally, I may ask all of you to chant the Nenbutsu for the well-being of all of you and also the peace in the world. Thank you. So chant together. 同唱